I'm one of the coaches that represents FitFX Global, a state-of-the-art online coaching program. Personal training has changed quite a bit in the last 2 years, and being able to coach online is a very significant thing because it really allows us to have a greater reach to our audience, people interested in having the top trainers, and you don't have to live in the same local area, the same state, same country. We can train you anywhere, everywhere. So today, the discussion is on how to build a V-shape to your back. Oftentimes, people want to start training, and building the back is one of the most challenging of body parts. Why? Because the back is, to me, is a second largest muscle group behind the legs, and it's extremely difficult. Why? First of all, your arms have to be exceptionally strong. Think about, curling, for example. If you can curl 50 pounds, and let's say you weigh 200 pounds, curling 50 pounds is not going to give you the strength to do pull-ups with a 200-pound body. So you got to get a lot stronger than that. So depending on the size of your frame and the amount of weight that you carry, you have to do a lot of work to develop the proper amount of strength in your arms to be able to train a difficult body part like your back. Obviously, there's other exercises besides pull-ups that will give you decent back development, but you still need to be able to do pull-ups. So let's start breaking down the V-shape. When it comes to your lats, they start from your armpit to all the way down to your waistline. And then you have mid-back. But let's talk primarily about the lats, because that's what we really need in terms of building a V-shape. I find pull-ups a great movement, but as I said before, most people don't necessarily have the strength, but there's different ways of working around that. Lat pull-downs is a great movement. It could be done with a series of grips. You can have wide grip, which would require a very long lat bar, to allow your arms to go wider than shoulder width, which would help widen the lats from near where the armpit is, like just at the top portion of the back. Doing wide grip lat pull downs, to me, it's a modified version of being able to do pull-ups. So let's say you weigh 200 pounds or you weigh 250 pounds and you can't do a pull-up. You have now another option of being able to do lat pull downs with, let's say, 100 pounds. Over time, you'll definitely have to develop a lot more strength, but it's a starting point. When you lift 100 pounds, the goal is to be able to do at least 10 reps. Too often than not, people start out an exercise and they go too heavy. If you're doing a movement that doesn't give you at least 10 reps and you're struggling to do, let's say, 5 or 6 reps, then your form is going to break down very quickly. What you have to understand is that bodybuilding is not weightlifting. Every time you do an exercise, you're targeting a specific muscle group in order to build that particular area. So it's not about just moving the weight, it's about getting into those lats. So let's say with a lat pull down, for example, you're dealing with your grip, you're dealing with forearm strength, you're dealing with your biceps, and then you're also focusing on getting to your lats. It seems like a pretty difficult journey to have to go through all of these different muscle groups to get to the lats, but pretty much anything that you do with your arms, especially when you're working a major muscle group like your lats, all of these smaller areas have to kind of give you that access to get to your lats. That's why it's extremely important to develop a very strong grip, strong forearms, strong biceps, because these smaller muscle groups have to have enough endurance to allow you to target a large muscle group like the back. So, as I was saying, moving forward, you keep your reps around 8 to 10 or 10 to 12. And each time you bring the bar under the chin, I would suggest that you pause for 2 seconds and try to feel the contraction in your lats. Too often than not, people have a tendency when they're working their lats, they do the reps too quick, meaning the movement starts to favor their arms more so than the lats. So each time you pause and you hold for 2 seconds at the bottom, you allow that momentary lapse in the rep to try to create tension in the lats. As soon as that tension feels present, now as you go into the negative phase of the rep, you try to feel the presence of the lats more so than the interactiveness of your arms. So as I said, the wide grip lat pull down is a great exercise. Another variation is the seated row. When you're doing seated rows, you have a very narrow grip, and with that narrow grip, you're targeting the lower portion of the lats, the part that goes down towards the waistline. Working that part of the lats kind of gives you more of a complete V taper. So with the seated row, you don't want to let the elbows spread out wide. You want to keep your elbows as tight to your body as possible. Roll the shoulders back. Keep the elbows tight. Feel the contraction in the mid-back, in the rhomboids. And as you extend the arms forward, try to really feel the lower portion of the lats and really feel that contraction going deep into your lower lat. Again, work with a weight that allows you to have a lot of control and keep the reps, as I said, between 8 to 10 or 10 to 12 reps. Another really good movement would be like the bent over row with the bar. That's a very difficult movement to do because it's like kind of like squatting or deadlifting or benching. You know, it's a hard exercise, but it's a high value movement. So you have to have a very strong core when you do the bent over row. So I suggest starting very light. And again, when you bend over, try to really bring the elbows as far back as you can, and as you extend the arms, really focus on the lats. Another variation of that movement would be T-bar rows. Nowadays, in the old days, T-bar rows, you had to kind of bend over, and very much like the bent over row, you have to have a strong core, but you're using a narrow grip, which again works on the lower portion of the lats. But now they have T-bar rows where you have that pad where your chest lays over the top of the pad. So now you have a lot of support. And again, all you have to do is really concentrate on working with a weight that allows you to bring your elbows all the way back. As you go all the way back, try to hold the top contraction for at least 2 seconds. Feel the contraction set into your mid-back and lats, and then slowly extend the arms down and feel that stretch come over the lats. Again, keep your reps around 8 to 10. Excellent movement. Next, I would like to talk about dumbbell rows. Dumbbell rows is another movement, very important. Why? Easy. When you're doing a dumbbell row, a lot of times when you're doing two-arm movements, sometimes your dominant side tends to do a little bit more work. So let's say you're right-handed, you might end up developing more width on your right side with your lats than on your left side, because your dominant side is going to do a little bit more work just because it's your stronger side, and your lats start to develop very unevenly, lack of symmetry, which is a common problem. That's why dumbbell work is so important. So anytime that starts to occur in your training, you always gotta try to get a upper hand on it early. So if you notice you're getting wider on one side than on the other, dumbbell rows is an excellent way of correcting that. Let's say you're doing 2 sets of dumbbell rows. I would suggest with the weaker side, you do an additional set or maybe an additional 2 sets. Because anytime you have development that brings about muscle disparity, you have to kind of do a little bit more work to correct it. You can't do the same work and you're not getting the same result. So anytime that occurs, you have to address it by knowing that you're going to have to do more sets on the weaker side to create the same effect. Because everything, when you're developing these body parts, is symmetry. If your lats are uneven, you can't have a V on one side and then you have a very narrow back on the other side. I mean, it may not be, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, it may not be narrow, but the development won't be equal. So it's just as bad as if it didn't develop at all. So with the dumbbell row, again, keep the elbows close to the body. Too often than not, most people when doing dumbbell rows, they tend to let the elbow kind of flare out. And as soon as you do that, you tend to start getting a little bit more shoulder work. It's almost like you're working your posterior delt and you're not really feeling the presence of your lats. So in order for the lats to be more interactive, the elbow always has to be very tight to the body. The closer you keep the elbow to the body, the less shoulder, the more lat you're going to get. So working on that is going to really create that balance, that symmetry that you want with your lats. And at the end of the day, you're going to start to really get the results you've been working for. Again, with back work, be patient with it. Because if you start out and you want overnight results, it's not going to happen. Like I said, you have to build a lot of strength. It's going to take time to build hand strength, to build forearm strength, to build bicep strength. And then once you acquire all of that, now you can start. Now you have enough arsenal in your arms to allow you to do enough work before the arms fatigue to activate the lats. The game is challenging. It just is. You know what I mean? I had to do a lot of work in the beginning to build my lats because it wasn't an easy body part. I used to love looking at bodybuilders that had these really, really wide lats where they had an unbelievable V shape, and that was something I really desired, whether it was a front double bicep or front lat spread or a real lat spread. Anytime you saw somebody with really, really nice lats, it just did so much for the physique. Even like when you do a semi-relaxed poses, when you face front, you always want to see the lats flare out. Gives the body, makes the waist look smaller, and just accentuates the overall shape of the physique a lot more. When you turn around, same thing. You always want to flare the lats out and show that V shape, show that development. The picture you see I posted, for the event, that was 1995 when I competed for the Mr. Universe, and I placed sixth, and I was working my back really, really hard. And when I saw the pictures, it was at that time the best my back had ever looked. And I did a lot of work to really bring out my lats and to get a lot of detail in the back. Because one of the things that I always say, everyone looks good from the front. When you turn around and you have a very impressive back, it kind of sets you apart from your competition. The key thing is you have to know, you got to be patient. Progress like that doesn't come overnight. You got to take your time. Maybe you might need to work your lats twice a week instead of once a week. Be patient with it. Don't get frustrated. The work will pay off in the long run. I hope I answered a lot of questions. I hope you guys got a lot out of the content. and train hard. Again, I'm representing FitFX Global online coaching. A lot of people out there are frustrated with the results that they're getting. Understand it doesn't matter where you're at. Our online coaching program will help get you the results that you want. You can access myself or any of our top coaches, through the company. And that way, whatever kind of training you need, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's endurance, it doesn't matter. You're training for an event, we cover all the bases. So don't hesitate. We're here for you. I'm here for you. Go out there, get it done. Most importantly, handle your business. Mr. Natural out. See you next time.